What up, ETE Squad? It's your boy Phoenix.
And your girl Majesty and more.
And we're back with another video. And today we're going back to the straight up conversations. And the topic at hand today is business. So we brought on a special guest today. Dope Sports Chics is in the building. So, we're gonna have a conversation with them today about business, some of the trials and tribulations that they face, and hopefully that this information will be able to help you to better your journey of business. So, with that being said, if you guys suggest, you guys have the floor, so you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So, my name is Sadell, and Dope Sports Chics is me, Sadell Nicole, and Carlita Nicole. So we have a lot of things in common, and our show is primarily about sports. So it's a sports talk radio show that's hosted by women, and we have a lot in common, but we have a lot that is not in common. And yeah, so there's a few things, but the good thing about it is that it makes our show unique and it keeps everything going. And so we have a lot of viewers that come on, and a lot of them are Team Carlita, and some are Team Sadell. And, you know, so even within the show, you see that rivalry. I think it's really been a good experience because we both genuinely love sports. And so it's not even like work, you know, it's like doing something that we love to do. And it's natural. So a lot of people get on the radio or in front of an audience and they kind of freeze up. But with us, it's natural because it's just talking about something we would talk about every day.
Right. Yeah. So I'm Carlita Nicole of Dope Sports Chics. And Dope Sports Chics for me is just, it's one of the things, it combines the things that I love the most, talking in sports. And it's really been like a fun ride. Like Sadell was just saying, she and I, we do have a lot of commonality. However, in the show or with sports in general, we don't agree on a lot of things. And I think that part about our show is very unique as far as usually you wouldn't really see a whole lot of women with real opinions about sports. But this is two women with concrete opinions about sports and with two totally different opinions. And when it comes to the differences, we go at it. We go at it. And it gets very entertaining, which is why our audience has split Team Carlita, Team Sadell, because Sadell, I guess as a rookie queen, I am the one who, with my background, I'm not an athlete. I did run track and play volleyball and basketball when I was younger. However, I ended up managing men's basketball in high school and in college. And I grew up with a bunch of men watching sports all the time. So my background is completely different from Sadell's background as an athlete and a coach. And I think that's much the foundation of why we differ as much, because I'm more the spectator, and you know, I see everything in everybody. Sadell is an athlete and a coach, and she is black and white, and so we're different in that aspect.
Cool.
So how did y'all come up with the name Dope Sports Chics? Where did that come from?
That was kind of weird. We didn't have a whole lot of time.
Right, literally.
We were at a meeting and he was like, hey, y'all need to come up with a name. And I always like dope. I always say that's dope. Like that's just always been my thing. And at the time there were three of us. So we were like, okay, Dope Sports, but we're female, so chicks. And so it just kind of ended up going on that route. We're like, Dope Sports Chics, that's kind of cool. So,
and it worked out.
It did.
Literally, we came up with that name probably in less than 5 minutes, like in the lobby of the studio. Like,
that's
yeah.
Right.
And know each other either. That was our introduction to each other, was me walking into a studio, which I thought I was just going to go meet a producer about talking about sports. And I walked into a studio and I had like 2 minutes. He's like, "You about to be on air. Get ready." And so I really didn't get, for real introductions. And that was how I met Sadell in the studio. And randomly, we here to talk about sports. Then after the show, it's like, "Oh, this is y'all's show." He's like, this is going to be y'all's show. Come up with the show, with a name, and y'all come back next week. We're like, "Oh."
The ironic thing about that also is Carlita, like she mentioned, she got there, we were getting ready to go on the air. So me and another lady had been there. Initially, there were 3 of us, and she ended up moving out of town or whatever. So we were sitting there, and he was kind of going over what we were going to do. And he was like, "Well, Sadell, you played sports all along. Catherine has played sports. Carlita's been a manager." And I was like, "A manager?
Hating, y'all, hating.
We ain't gonna make it." But when we came in, like it just works, and she always has her notes and her stats. And it's just been cool to just build a brand, because it's been almost 2 years.
Yes.
And now people like walking down the street like, "Hey, you that girl on Dope Sports," so.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. And I did want to say to you guys that we are proud of you guys, because it takes determination to stick with it for that amount of time. And we are proud of y'all for that. And that's not just because Carlita is my sister, because I didn't say that, but Carlita Nicole,
for real, biological,
is my actual sister. So I'm not just saying that just because of that, but we are proud of y'all. This next question I wanted to ask is, what are some of the challenges that you guys faced during the early stages of like launching?
Ooh, I think really and truly, like when we first started, I think we didn't have expectations. We just kind of went with the flow. Like Sadell was saying, it started off with 3 of us, and then before we actually started our regular Dope Sports Chics show, she decided, her work schedule wasn't going to work with what we were doing with the show. So she kind of was just like, "Okay, you guys go ahead and do the show without me." And I honestly, our producer at the time was like, "I'll have another woman come and replace her next week." That following week, that lady never showed up. And Sadell and I did the show by ourselves, and we was like, "We could do this." And I think that's when me and Sadell realized, like, we did have a lot more in common than we thought that we did. We're both Deltas, we're both Nicoles, we're both Geminis, and it's extremely it's weird to find somebody that you find that much in common with. You know what I'm saying? So,
and women, because
and women.
Yeah.
Right. But we kind of just went with the flow of it. You know what I'm saying? And it worked. It worked. So, but as far as like additional challenges that we had, I will say this: if you start a show and you're on a station, it's one of those things that can really, I don't even know how to necessarily put it, but you're basically, when you start a show and you have a show like how we did, you pay each week for your time slot. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily feel like we had all of what we needed to be successful. We had to figure it out. And I think if anything, that's one thing that Sadell and I are very good at, is figuring it out. We kind of had to, realize that social media was going to be a really big part of our show outside of the actual studio radio station. And we decided to continue that part as far as the social media is concerned. And that part really has been like our bread and butter. We ain't making no money yet. But when I say bread and butter, this is, where our audience get to interact with us in real time, and that's what they love. And so we had to make a decision when we left the radio station that this was what we were going to do, is work solely for social media. And I mean, we had to kind of weigh the cost, you know, us losing radio listeners and how many people will we be losing, et cetera, et cetera. But it was like, let's go ahead and do it. And then at that, we ain't had no studio. So after that, we ended up doing our show out of Sadel's house, and it worked. I mean, I think we figured out ways, right, Sadel? Just how to we made do with what we had.
Right.
Well, let me add this on, Sadel, before you answer. Were there any challenges specific to the social media realm?
I don't know that there were challenges specifically to the social media realm, other than making sure to separate the business from the personal, right? Because when you interact with the same people over and over and over, it's kind of like you build a relationship, but you have to make sure that it's professional. And so for me, you know, they call me Stephen A or Sadel A on the show because I act like a jerk sometimes. So people will be sending Carlita messages telling her that I'm rude, you know. And so for me, like, I just, you know, I may read their comments and I may not. So to me, it's just business. So I'm not going to take anything that anybody says personal, and, you know, we're just going to kind of go with it and keep it moving. Now, getting them to feel the same way, it doesn't always work out that way, but just making sure that, you know, it's professional and, you know, the line's not crossed on either side, and making sure that even our viewers stay in their lane. I mean, like I said, they blow up Carlita's inbox. They tell on me like, you know, she the principal or something, but, you know,
you shouldn't be so mean, and you shouldn't be such a dad hater.
Yeah. Well, see, I will say this. This actually came up in a conversation the other day about how when you start making headway and start making moves, whether it's through social media or any sort of platform, and start growing, that people, your audience members, start to feel entitled. And so, like, I know one person that we spoke to, they were saying that sometimes they can't go places without people wanting to ask them questions or take pictures of them or whatever, you know. And it's like, dang, you have to, from my point of view, I'm like, I'm a real person, and so I just want to be treated as a real person sometimes. I mean, if I feel comfortable taking pictures or answering questions at that particular time, then I get it. But if I just want to do me, then I feel like people shouldn't take offense to that. And I feel that's kind of like going along the lines of what Sadel was saying, like when it's business, like, you shouldn't take offense to how we're trying to move in the direction that we're moving. Like, we're just trying to move, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, don't take offense to it. It's like, we're just trying to make moves.
But I feel like it's kind of it does stink for, you know, people to feel entitled and feel like they gotta, you know, talk about whatever. But at the same time, I kind of feel like you can play into that, or y'all do play into it too, because people that are complaining, they're tuning in, so they'll have something to complain about. So it's like, oh, thank you for watching, but okay, even though you're complaining, you're still watching. So thank you.
Right. So you know what? So I do agree with what Corey's saying, you know, as far as business and people kind of keeping their feelings out of it. But I will say this, like, one of the things that I noticed because of our show, like I said, it's live on Tuesdays at 8:30, and our audience gets to comment as we're talking. And there are times when, you know, as show hosts, you can't stay on the same subject. Right. You got to move on. And there are some people who don't like that. They get offended by that. And some people do take us not reading comments personally, or us bypassing things so that we can hurry and get through our show, or even if just changing the subject is some people don't like for you to change subjects, and they don't understand it is a show. We have multiple topics that we have to address, and we can't stay and argue with you, one person or two people, about one subject the entire hour.
Yeah.
And that part has been something, but I do, at least I get that emotional connection that people have with our show, to where they do feel the need to be Team Carlita or Team Sadell and argue with us, because there are legit people who tune in just to argue with us each week. There are people who tune in just to set me off. They'll purposely say something about that just to get a reaction out of me, because I don't play that. I don't play that. And so I do think that you can tell, because we are the producers of our show, that people feel like we should cater to them more than not. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, you run into those things, but in that aspect, I found that I have a lot more patience than Sadell in that aspect.
Hey, I get it. I get it.
I mean, and it's crazy. I mean, I think just challenges in general, like our leader was saying, when we initially started, our producer was a man.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to find our own voice, because his voice overpowered ours a lot. Like,
very much so.
So we would talk about stuff, his opinion would kind of take over. And so it didn't have a Dope Sports Chics feel until we kind of moved away from that. And I think me, when I'm thinking about building the brand, if we're building a brand that says Dope Sports Chics, then we don't need a man being the voice of our show, for one. But for two, the only way we can really monetize this thing is if we are able to show consistency in our numbers, in our viewers, in our listeners. And, I just think that kind of thing is important. So that's the kind of thing that we started trying to track. And from a radio station perspective, we didn't really know what our numbers were, but on social media we can track that.
Yep.
Right. So, okay, so we started moving that way a little bit more, and just start doing little nuances and different things. And Carlita does like a flyer every week, and it just kind of helps to build it. And it's a slow process, and we need to move to other platforms other than just Facebook, to start expanding it more. But I think that, it's worth it. It gets hard sometimes, and sometimes you like, I don't want to do it today. But, I think in general, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't understand, is when, like you said earlier, like being an entrepreneur is so glorified by people, but people like us because they hear the, make your own hours, make your own, do your own time, be your own boss, you can do whatever. But at the same time, I don't think people really understand, like, time management is a real thing when you own your own business. Like, if you don't want to get up, that's fine, but at the same time, you won't get paid neither. So it's like, yes, you can, manage your own time and do whatever you want, but you got to be smart about it.
And then also, and here's another kick to it too, is that a lot of times in business, depending on what kind of business you have, it may be years before you start seeing any money.
Right.
And that's not, it could be years before the business starts making money. It can be years before the business starts paying you any money.
Right.
So time could pass very fast, depending on how busy you are, being involved in everything. But like, it doesn't happen overnight unless, you're in a particular industry, cause there's like certain industries that you can hop in that are pretty popular, they're trending. So if you hop into those industries, then that will work. But it doesn't work for everybody. And so having these types of conversations just to break the mold and just talk about these things, because time is like, that's a big factor.
It is.
Right. I spend Mondays and Tuesdays researching. I'm researching and gathering all the information. I have a notebook that Adele absolutely hates. But I keep stats and stuff in that notebook, and I always have, facts ready. So when people get ready to argue with me, I have something to back it up with. But it does take a lot of work. And to be honest with you, both Adele and I have put in so much effort into this, but yet we haven't gotten any return as far as monetization just yet. And we know what avenues and stuff that we have to take. It's a building block. You know what I'm saying? And we know once we had started, when we first started doing our Facebook Lives, we're doing them on our personal pages. And right now we have our Dope Sports Chics page. But when we were at the radio station, I know no better. So, there wasn't a Dope Sports Chics page when we first started. So we were doing this off of our personal pages. So when we started the Dope Sports Chics page, people still found it easier to come to our personal pages. So we know it's a transition, and hopefully we'll do that transition this month where we can do our shows from our Dope Sports Chics page and then push that onto our shared on our regular pages, and then like Sadell said, increase our platforms to other social media, things like Instagram, putting clips maybe on Twitter, definitely a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We got goals.
Right. So playing, or I guess going deeper into that question, how do y'all balance like your regular life and Dope Sports Chics life? Like is there a balance, or is there no balance, or we just winging it, or whatever works?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Life happens. It's been a lot of challenges. There's been a lot of things going on. There's been a lot of times I'm crying before the show, trying to get myself together and be like, "Hey, what's up, Mr. Lioness?" You know what I'm saying? And
so true.
But I feel like in order for us to continue to build, you can't take a break, and it's an hour-long show, and sometimes you have to put some stuff on hold for an hour and get back to it. But life doesn't stop, and it's like you said, with anything that you're trying to build, there's going to be challenges and obstacles. There's going to be adversity, and it's whether or not you can persevere through it. I think the balance is, for me, and is just trying to focus on what absolutely needs to be done and being able to put things in priority and kind of working from there, from the hot list, right? Yeah. Because thankfully Carlita has her handy dandy notepad. So she has all the stats. And so for me, because I'm a sports person, it's easy to talk about sports. So even if I haven't spent the time researching that I would normally like to, is not usually a problem, right? Because I'm a sports person. And so it's good days and bad days, and you kind of push through all of it.
I can definitely agree with that. I think with me, it's a little bit easier. My responsibilities are myself, and I have one child, and he's about to be 14. So I don't really have to do too much, with him. But as far as like the balance of it, I find as far as Dope Sports Chics is concerned, Sadell is my balance. She's the one that it's like when I don't feel like doing it, or like if I know he's going through something and she's having a hard time, she'll feel like doing it, I know I gotta pick up the pace and make sure I give that energy so she can get that energy, and we'll feed off of each other. And oftentimes, it's a natural progression of us feeding off of each other. You know what I'm saying? She gives me such a hard time as far as me being the official DAC ambassador. She gives me a hard time because I go hard for DAC, but a lot of our viewers give me a hard time. A lot of them feel like I'm not realistic But once again, Sadell was very, but I'm like, I'm the one with asterisks. Like, wait a second, hold on, it's a gray area. And she like, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. She's always there busting my bubble. But that balance, and just the whole dynamic of it really keeps me going. I will say, like, that she kind of talked about today in our show was that, or maybe yesterday, that me being the official DAC ambassador and her being like the Stephen A. lioness, that these are like entertainment personalities. And I do know that people really think that I eat, breathe, sleep Dakota Prescott. I absolutely love Dak. I go hard for Dak. I will fight for Dak. But I don't spend 24/7 on Dak Prescott. But I just think that people see us that hour and I'm going hard, so that's what they associate with me. But they associate with Sadell as being a hater, being mean, and being Stephen A. just, that type of personality that's just cutthroat. You know what I'm saying? So there are people personality-wise that gravitate to one or the other.
Right.
And even that's balancing that. Even that, kind of, I don't know. For whatever reason, it drives Dope Sports Chics. That energy, that balance between the two of us. And I think with us both being just some dope chicks, just Geminis and Deltas, like, I mean, you can't lose with this combination. It's a winning combination.
Oh Lord. Let me ask this question. So are there some things that like frustrate you guys about being small business owners?
Man.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said initially, like starting out, honestly, when we first talked about the show, I didn't realize he wanted us to do a show. I thought he wanted me to come on his show to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. So it was just kind of boom, here you go. And oh, by the way, you got to pay every week. So, and by the way, you got to pay every week didn't come until we were already sucked in. Right. So we were already guest hosting on another show and like, oh, this is cool. Okay. So your show starts next week and it's going to be such and such a week. Oh, really? Okay. So how does that work? Okay, cool. So we got, and so then it's like, okay, so what do we get for that?
Right.
Well, we get your numbers and you're going to know how many people are watching. You're going to do this. And if we have that packet, then we can go to sponsors and say, well, hey, we got listeners in Ethiopia, you know what I'm saying? And all of this stuff. But we didn't ever get that consistently. And that's one of the things that really, really bothered me, to the point, like, I was like, let me write the algorithm. I promise you, like, I can get our numbers if you just give me access to your system. You know what I'm saying? But so we never really got that consistently. But we got it one time. And I think that was kind of troubling because it kind of limited us into being able to do what we really needed to do. Because it's easy to say, hey, we got 50,000 listeners, 100,000 listeners, whatever. And you have this thing, well, we'll charge you such and such for a spot. But when you have someone that says, well, hey, how many listeners do you have? I'm pretty sure we have a lot, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm telling you. But so I kind of took away from it, and it made it a little bit difficult to, kind of grow the way we would want to. But again, you readjust and realign your plan, and then you come up with something new. And so that's kind of where we ended up going down the social media path.
Right.
Gotcha.
I think that part about not being able to have what we needed to go to sponsors in order to attract sponsors, that part was frustrating, especially for me, because at the time, I'll be honest with you, this is my job and this is what I've been doing, but I'm not making money from it. And so when we first started, I didn't have anything to contribute to the cause. And it's like, for me, what I am very good at is networking and meeting people and saying, hey, you know, bringing people in, you know, because of my networking, we were able to get into sports con and do some and meet certain people and do different things like that. So I'm good at that. But I didn't have what I needed as far as like the package, all of the things that to take to the sponsor, say, these are our numbers. This is what it looks like each week. This is what it would cost us to make a show. This is what you would get in. Like, I didn't have that. And so that's why we decided, you know, well, shoot, if we don't have that, let's just go ahead and go this route on our own. And it's still, it's a trial and error, because this isn't something that I've done. I've been on Facebook for years, but I've never hosted a show on Facebook, and had multiple pages. Now, Sadell and I have pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have Dope Sports Chics pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but we haven't utilized like Instagram and the Twitter platform the way that we know that we can. Because honestly, I really feel like if people knew what we did, we would have so many more viewers. I just don't think enough people know what we do and how we do it and how good we are at doing it. I do think one of the things that we've got to do is get out our interviews that we've had with professional athletes. We've had a lot of really dope interviews with professional athletes, current and retired, and Sadell and I were able to get interviews with people that nobody else could get interviews with. And to me, that said a lot about who we were, that we were different, we were unique, and that these athletes were like, well, hey, well, yeah, I talk to you. What's up? What you want to know? You know, and that was that kind of, for me at that time, going to SportsCon, which is a conference where there's a bunch of athletes that you can literally talk to. You can get autographs, you can take pictures with, but we were on Media Row and we got a lot of interviews and we've made a lot of contacts and stuff from that. And I really feel like if more people got to see us and that type of platform and see us with these athletes, then they'd be like, okay, well, then maybe I do need to invest in them. Let me hurry up and invest in them before somebody else does.
Right.
I really feel like, you know, if people knew that, they would be like, yeah, I definitely need to go ahead and invest in them before, you know, somebody else gets to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So knowing all of these different things, like if y'all, say for instance, if you could go back in time, is there anything that you would change, or would you keep your experience the same?
I think I'd probably ask more questions, right? And I would do a little more research, because even when we started, it was just like, hey, it's cool, we're on the radio, you know, whatever. But I never really did any research into what are good numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like, for this time slot, what is a good time slot to have a sports radio show? Like, what's a good time spot to have people listen who might consider listening to somebody talk about sports? I didn't do any of that research up front. We just said, what time works for you? Oh, that time works? Okay, cool. So that's what time we're going to do it, right? And then even the money that we're paying in, like, to me, we should negotiate it. Okay, so we're paying this much, then I need this report every month or every, you know, every quarter. I mean, we literally got it once after the first year. Like, we had been doing our show for over a year when we got our only report that we received. But to me, now I would say, okay, we're paying this much. We want this report to happen at this frequency. And if we don't get it, don't expect money, right? Because part of it. Any advertisement that we did, we had to do early on. I was creating flyers and stuff for us because they were like, the guy who brought us on, which I appreciate. I do appreciate the opportunity that he gave us. I do, and I'm thankful for that, because I never probably would have even done this.
Right.
But he was basically just saying, hey, you're the lead of this show. you're going to be the one that promotes it. You're going to have to be the one who does this. So there was no benefit for us to pay that fee that we were paying every week. Like we didn't get, even on other shows that were on our station, to me, you put a 10-second spot in on that show and say, hey, this show is also on here. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we had to pay to do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I would have just done more research, and I would have negotiated a contract per se versus just saying, okay, we'll pay you $60 a week. You know what I'm saying? So
That makes sense.
I really feel like too, there's one of my things is that I like to stay in my lane. I don't want to do things that I'm not great at and then mess it up. And I felt like there should have been more help for us. I know for sure at the radio station. And then when we left the radio station, it's like, okay, so we're for real on our own. So basically we got to do everything or hire somebody to do it. And then at that point, I was looking for sponsorships because I don't have the money to hire these people out of my pocket. And I didn't want to just leave Sadell with that burden. So I'm like, okay, well, I could reach out to some people and see about sponsorship. And we had some meetings that went very, very well. But to be honest with you, the virus kind of affected a lot of what we had planned. But all hope is not lost. I'm not a social media expert, but I do know how to post some stuff. And so that's definitely within this next month for me that I want to get started on us really making sure that we utilize those other platforms, and then making sure that the other stuff that I have coming up and then the stuff that Sadell has coming up, that we can connect those things to it as well.
Right.
I really wish that I had paid more attention to the whole social media thing before we went off on our own. I wish that I had learned a lot more about editing, because there wouldn't be just a pile of videos that I have ready to be edited, because it's a lot. That's not my forte. That is not my lane. But that's what the sponsorship money would be helpful for, to help us with marketing, to help us do things. And to be honest with you, Sadell designed the logos, Sadell designed the t-shirts, she did all that stuff herself. That's not my ministry.
Right.
But neither is like the flyers and stuff. Sadell, no, I talk about my own flyers so bad, but I do what I can. Right. You know what I'm saying? But I really do feel like if I had known more before we went on our own, that we would be further along on other platforms and have more followers.
So based on that, I do want to ask, like, this is kind of an extension to that question. So what would you tell somebody that's brand new to business and they're just now starting? What would you tell them based on your experience, how to do it for themselves?
I would tell them just do it, because I don't know how many times I have told Sadell, if we had this, if we had that, if, and a lot of times those ifs would keep me unproductive and not doing the things that could have catapulted us, so much further than we are now. I did let those things get to me. The fact that we didn't have access to certain things, or couldn't get this, or didn't get the sponsorships to help us with these things. And now I've just decided, to hell with it. I'm going to just utilize what I have and just do it. And I would tell anybody, figure it out, because if you saw the space that I was in right now, you would be like, girl, what the heck is wrong with her? But this is what you see, and that's all that matters. And I had to really, it took a lot. It took me talking to both of you, Corey and Mimi, about that, but it also, just talking to Sadell, and honestly, like Sadell doesn't know, she motivates me so much just with regular conversation. You know, she does so much that people don't know about.
Yeah.
And I take a lot from that, like from her experiences, and I'm just like, okay, if she can do this with that, Carlita, you could do this and you could do that and help the movement.
Yeah.
So I just say, don't make excuses. Don't look at your circumstances and say what you can't do. Look at your circumstances and figure out what you can do with those circumstances, because there's a will, there's a way. And you know, even a lot of times I'm recording off of my cell phone. I don't got no camera. I'm using a phone. And that's fine. And half the time it's a bootleg tripod that I done had to jack up some type of way, but you do what you can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would just tell somebody, go for it. Just do it on some Nike stuff.
On some Nike stuff.
For real.
Same thing along those lines. I would just say to definitely do some research, right? And make sure you know exactly what you're getting into, but then to also put everything into it and not do it halfway, right? Because to me, I've told Carlita this before, there's never been anything that I've really put my all into that God hasn't helped me to be successful at. You know, a lot of times we halfway do stuff and we ask God to bless us, but we're not really giving our all to it, and it doesn't turn out the way we want it to turn out, and then we complain. But when you really put your heart into everything, I just have never had a situation where it did not work out. I think with this, there's just been so many things. I mean, so Carlita has her son, he's about to be 14. I have a 1-year-old, a 13-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 24-year-old. And I'm going through a divorce. So it's just been, these past couple of years have just been nightmarish. So I've just been trying to breathe, right? But I'm just getting to a point where I feel like, okay, now I can do this. But I just feel like when you put your everything into it, God honors that. And so if you do it, then do it. And don't halfway do it.
Right.
There's
I love it.
It's lit.
Because that's literally what it will take for anybody, because if you second guess yourself, you're never gonna do it
at all.
And I know that we've had a whole lot of issues where like it's always boiled back to the time thing. Like you have complete control over your time. So some days you may want to stay in the bed to 1 o'clock, you know, or whatever. Like you may not want to get out of bed the whole day, you know, whatever it is. Like you have complete control over that. So it's like, I feel that if this is something that is meant for you to do, God gave you this vision, God gave you this dream, then as long as you are following that journey to its entirety, like you said, putting your heart all into it, then I mean you can't fail. Right. You know, there's no option of them.
Right.
You know, you just have to do it. You know, straight up.
So I guess that falls into this is our golden question that we ask every single person. Everybody gets this question. So when it comes to Dope Sports Chics or Carlita or Sadell personally or whatever, how important is it to have the support of your family or support of your friends, kids? Like how important is it to have that support circle?
I think this is the thing with support. Like a lot of times the people closest to you won't support you. And you'll get support from random strangers. And for me, like Sadell, I was in a relationship when we first started out Dope Sports Chics. And it wasn't a healthy relationship at all. And I didn't get the support in that relationship at all to do this. He liked to watch me fail. So he wasn't supportive at all. But when I got out of that relationship, and I had to realize, like, if nobody is cheering for you, you better get up and cheer for yourself and support yourself. Make yourself get up and do the flyers. When I don't feel like doing the show, and that's when there have been times when I call Sadell and I be hoping, like, she'd be like, "You want to cancel the show tonight?" But if she doesn't, I'm like, I gotta do it, because but I do feel like you need support. But to be honest with you, like, the support that I've gotten from Dope Sports Chics for our business, our brand and stuff, most of it has legit come from people I would not have expected in real life. I've been in multiple, like, Facebook groups for years, and I've networked with so many people, and a lot of those people watch the show religiously every week. A lot of them watch the show just to get on Sadell nerves. And it is fun. But these people that have watched us from the beginning and that are still watching us, like, those are the people that matter when it comes to support. Not the people who are doubting you, not the people who are waiting for you to fail. Those people don't matter. The people that matter are the ones that are there, like, waiting for you, or the ones that are tagging us in posts, like, "Hey, Carlita Sadell, did you see this?" Those are the people that matter. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I want my son and my family to be supportive and stuff. My son don't care about sports, but if there's some news about that on TV, my son go call and tell Mama, "Did you see this?" If he finds out something, you know what I'm saying? So even though that's not his thing, that's a support in that way. I have some of my closest friends watching the show, or that would, at least if they can't watch it during real time, they'll call me afterwards and be like, giving me some feedback, and will tell me stuff that I could give to Sadell, the things that she and I could do to make the show better. That's the support. So I don't even look at it like that you have to have it from the people that are, like, around you, your closest circle. I don't look at support like that anymore. I look at, for one, support starts within you, and then support comes from those who matter.
Yeah, I think for me it's so crazy because, like, my kids are all sports fanatics, all of them. So it's cool for them. Like, they like the show, and they'll come and, like Carlita said, they'll come and give me information about that. And I don't know that I have. Support has never really been a big thing for me. I feel like most of the stuff that I've gotten through, I prayed through, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's cool to me that, because they like that I coach. They like that I play football. They like that I play basketball. That's cool to them. And so this show just kind of adds up. And for me, at the end of the day, those dudes, like my little boys and my daughter, like, that's what I need. Like, as long as they cool, I'm cool. And I appreciate all the people who, like Carlita said, we've had people watching since day one who don't miss a show. I have people send me pictures of them sitting in their living room, watching our show onto their TV, like it's a television show. And so I appreciate that. And that's, that's a form of love, that they are showing this every week. They're taking time out of their day that they do not have to. They're dedicating this time to us. And I appreciate that. And I don't know how we could ever even repay them back. And I don't know that they understand how much that kind of support means. But from a family perspective, my brother had one of his friends come on our show, but he's probably never even watched my show ever. Like, they just like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. You on that Facebook thing, they don't really, and it doesn't bother me. I don't really care. I feel like you said, whatever God puts in you and you just do it, support will come from whatever avenue it's supposed to come from. But as long as my little crew is good, I'm good.
Absolutely.
You got that right.
I will say that was one thing when it came to business with us. Like, for one big thing we like ran into is because she, me, her. He was talking about business, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I sing, like that's my thing. So it's like, you want me to do business? Like, I can do some paperwork, that's fine, but you talking about all of this EIN numbers and calling the comptrollers and what are you talking about? So it was like, I wasn't like, he wanted us to be business partners, but I, in my mind or thought process, I wasn't there yet. So it was like, we butted heads for a good while. So like, I guess it kind of stinks for him at the time, but it was like, he didn't have the support from me. Well, I supported him. Like, I was a cheerleader for him to do it, but not for me to help him do it. So,
right.
So it was like, you can do whatever. But then once we finally got to the place where it was actually like, okay, I get it. I understand. Like, I had to, like I say, spend time and actually research and look at different things with him or whatever. Like, then it became, okay, I understand this is our business now. And it helped to where, like you said, with support on the outside, it didn't matter no more. Cause like at first it bothered me. I'm like, why our family don't support? Like, why we support them in any and everything that they do. Like, it doesn't matter. We'll stop and drop everything for them. But yet, if we just ask a question, it's kind of like, no. And I was like, so I had a hard time with that. I was like, you know what? We ain't doing nothing for nobody no more.
Right.
Like, so I was like, whatever. But like now since I guess we've taken the time to do the research and or at least me, to understand different aspects of the business, it's like I'm fine with Wilson party a 2. I'm good. Like, okay.
You know what? That speaks to just staying in your lane. When it comes to like numbers and like technical stuff, I'm not a technical person at all. But literally, when we started this, Sadell, I got this. And so when I don't overstep my bounds with her lane. She knows what she's doing when it comes to our business stuff. Now, creatively, she lets me do my thing with these flyers that I don't know what I'm doing on, and just with the subjects and stuff that we're going to be talking about. She does let me navigate in that way. So I do feel like we respect our lanes, and she gets me, I get her. Whenever she'll tell me if I'm forgetting something as far as like a subject, a topic, or whatever. So that's not all solely me, even though she's been saying the last 2 days that is me. But at the same time, it's like how someone described our show to me was that like Sadell is the bus driver. She's gonna no, I'm the bus driver, and Sadell is the coach standing up on the bus, like giving the directions and stuff. So I lead and take us from subject to subject and subject, but Sadell is keeping us in line, like, you know what I'm saying, on the straight and narrow. And it works. It works because I do feel like in business, knowing and staying in your lane is very important. It's something Sadell will tell me that she did, and I just be like, okay, I'm not gonna question it.
Well, see, look, we did have this conversation actually on this topic the other day, and I do believe that. I do believe it's cool to stay in your lane. Like, whatever your strengths are, let those be your strengths or whatever the case is. But the one thing that I did say in the conversation the other day is that I may not always be here, whether it's like I'm out of town or, I may be dead and gone, whatever the case is. And so if I'm not here, who's going to run the business? Who's going to be able to take care of those things if I'm not here? So I'm not saying that she has to know everything and every aspect from the top to the bottom, but at least know the foundational pieces so that you can coach those people to do their parts. you know, those team members and things like that.
I totally agree with that. I think when it comes to those things, you know, we work well in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It works. It's not that I'm completely oblivious with the business side. It's just something that, you know, if I got to sit down and do it, I can do it. I'm very capable. I'm very capable. But there are just certain things where it's just like, if it's between her and I, Sadell should probably take this.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I definitely get that. Because I'm like, oh, you want to edit these videos? You want to do... Like, I like to do the what's the word I'm looking for?
The research stuff?
No, like all of the behind the scenes stuff. Like I want to do, like, that's my forte. All of the creative aspect of like doing editing videos, doing the posts and all the other stuff. Like, I can help with the logistics. There we go. All of the logistical things, you know, oh, this needs to be posted on this day, and you know, doing the scheduling, all of that, I could do that. Man, that's my job. You know, but all of that creative stuff, I'm like, nah, player.
That's funny, because you know what? Both you and Sadell are June Geminis, and I'm realizing June Geminis are a lot more structured than May Gemini, because I'm more of the, I guess, organized chaos.
Yeah.
Mostly chaos though.
Like,
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I do, but I think it works. It works like that. So I think how we function as Dope Sports Chics, it works for us and has been working. I know that there are things that I definitely have to push myself. I have pushed myself in the midst of this to learn other parts of our business. And I know Sadell has done a lot of research as well to learn more about our business. And I feel like we're on the right path. It's just, you know, getting all of those things in order to get to our next step.
Yeah, it takes time. Yeah,
and
definitely.
being consistent. Big time.
Well, as we get ready to wrap this up, I just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to just, you know, say any last words, anything you guys would like to share with the audience.
Promote your show.
So, if you want to check out the dopest sports show around, check out Dope Sports Chics on Tuesday night. We are on 8:30 p.m. Central on Facebook Live. I am Sadell Nicole, and we have Carlita Nicole, the quirky queen herself, also. And then we have our Dope Sports Chics page that's also on Facebook. But like, share, follow us. I promise you won't be disappointed. Like, you're going to enjoy the show. You're going to get some gainful insight into anything that's sports, and it's going to be dope.
Exactly.
Dope.
Yeah, I like that. Dope.
Dope. It's gonna be dope. We appreciate you guys for tuning in today for another episode of Straight Up Conversations. And like we said, today's conversation was about business, and it was an amazing conversation. We hope that you got something out of this, and we hope that it's able to help you on your journey with business. So that being said, we'll see you guys on the next video.
Peace.
Thanks.